and welcome to Meet Me in Tennessee. I'm your host, Allie, and this podcast is sponsored by the Northeast Tennessee Tourism Association. You can find us online at northeasttennessee.org and on all social media. Today, we are sitting down with Alec Castro and Paula Augustine, and Alec is with Visit Johnson City, and Paula owns the August Muse in Elizabethton. Um, Alec and Paula, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Sally.
Y'all are in for a treat. We've had a little pre-hang time in the studio, and the energy is vibing up in here today.
Always a vibe.
Always. Alec, can you please tell our listeners a little bit about your work with Visit Johnson City?
Absolutely. So Visit Johnson City is the official destination marketing organization for Johnson City, Tennessee. And at the highest level, we are the sales, marketing, communications, and event planning arm for the city for all things Johnson City tourism. And at the end of the day, our job is to bring visitors to the area.
Wonderful. And Paula, please tell our listeners about August Muse.
August Muse is a retail space in downtown Elizabethton. We have an art gallery, and then we have resources for the dancer and for the musician in the store.
Yes, and I am familiar with you both having a passion for the arts, which is why you're here today. That's going to be the highlight of what we're talking about. So Alec and Paula, feel free to start the conversation. What is your connection to the arts, and where does your passion for the arts come from?
Can I stop us and pause that question? Because I thought it was really important for this subject matter to speak about where the arts used to be in Northeast Tennessee. Because I think that's going to make our conversation more impactful, what there is now and what there is to come.
Absolutely.
So, my personal story with Northeast Tennessee and Johnson City is that I moved here in 2008, right before starting high school. And I'm originally from Miami, Florida, a cultural anchor in the United States. And so when me and my family moved here, I thought I had been relocated to a arts and cultural desert.
Oh, my word.
I looked around, I was like, where is everything that I loved about South Florida? And, I grew up with, this is definitely my home. I grew up here. This is now much more my home than South Florida, the Northeast Tennessee area. But I grew up in the high school system. I went to East Tennessee State University, and then I was gone for a few years. And to be honest with you all here and the listeners, I didn't think I was ever going to come back.
Wow.
And, the pandemic changed my life as it did with many people.
Sure.
And life brought me back here in early 2001. And I remember coming back and looking around, and I was like, Johnson City's trying to be cute now.
Uh-huh.
And I was so impressed with all of the development and growth in every way that had happened in this area, but also specifically with the arts and culture, the conversations, the initiatives, the investments in all of the local municipalities in Northeast Tennessee behind these types of projects and activities is unprecedented.
Absolutely.
And now we're all, such as myself and Paula, we're all capitalizing on that to now incubate this environment of creativity in our cultural workforce, because there's so much opportunity now, not only happening in the present, which we're going to talk about today, but hopefully our future projects as well. But I just wanted to put that perspective.
That's a very interesting
for all
perspective.
Of the viewers.
No, that's so interesting because I come from Wisconsin, my high school years, and we felt in rural America very isolated from the art. So when my husband and I moved here in 2010, so it was 2 years after you moved here, I felt there was so much more for my children to be involved in, because in Elizabethton, there was a ballet studio opening up. There was already dance there. There was music resources. My daughter was able to take cello lessons. And where I lived, I would have had to drive an hour and a half to get anywhere. But I had it right in Elizabethton. So I saw the arts. Now, they weren't big. They weren't up front. ETSU was still trying to grow some of their programs.
Now, when you were considering moving here and you say that you saw the arts, where were you seeing things on the internet, or what kind of helped to form your perspective prior to moving to Elizabethton?
Prior, I didn't know anything. Prior, we moved here because of family, and my husband's brother was here in the area, so we moved here. We kind of felt a pull to live here. I can't explain it.
So 2010 coming here, and you felt like there was some seedlings planted for the arts.
Yes. And I felt like my children could actually be involved in the arts here. Now, most of the arts, the people in the arts, the teachers, and they said the arts will never flourish here. But there's pieces of it all over, and there was people trying. So I think that helped us build to what we have today.
And I love that human experience. And because I always say perception and what we experience independently in our lives completely change how we view the world. And I love that just in the beginning of this episode, we have two completely different experiences and perception of the growth, but we both agree of the opportunities that happen now, that are happening now in the future. What was your question about why are we here? We have the foundation and we have two great experiences and perceptions.
Wonderful experiences. Honestly, I love where it's going now. Thank you, Alec.
But your question was like, why are we here? My
question was just, aside from our organizations we represent and the arts around Northeast Tennessee, why are each of you passionate for the arts from that personal human experience?
Wow. That's deep.
That is deep.
So why am I passionate about the arts? Growing up in the culture that I grew up in, really you wouldn't have seen the arts. For some reason, I had a pull in the arts. There was some arts in my family. Most of it was my grandma was in an oom-papa band. She played the drums.
A what band?
I call it an oom-papa band. It was a German.
Tell us more. What does this mean?
It was a German, they played all the German music for all the weddings in the basement of the Catholic church.
Are they German?
Some, yeah.
Okay.
I have a lot of German, and then I have some Norwegian. I'm very white Caucasian.
Okay.
For the viewers listening, I'm not. That's if you're curious.
I'm just boring. Not more excited.
No, we're all excited.
Yes, everybody's excitable. So an papa band.
I call it an papa band.
Okay.
It was Dale Pexa and the Country Girls.
Okay.
That's plenty exciting for me.
Yeah.
But there was always arts. My grandparents on my mom's side collected art from around the world as they traveled.
Just as a way to remember each place.
Yes. And so I grew up seeing the arts, but it wasn't really presented in our immediate family. And I always had a pull for the arts, so I went on to college and studied flute and studied music education.
Okay. So is more of the performing arts your personal experience?
Yeah.
Outside of maybe your grandparents traveling, so that kind of introduced you to new places through art.
Through art, yeah. Especially Central America. They brought a lot back from Guatemala. They had been to Russia. They had been to a lot of things where it was like a farmer exchange program because they were farmers.
Sure.
And they would bring back art from either street art or just art that they found from all the areas that they had been.
Right. Maybe that gave you a little glimpse into culture internationally.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. Alec.
So quite opposite, again, in your experience, I was steeped in culture immediately upon my birth. I'm first generation in this country. Both my parents are from El Salvador. And, not only did I have all of that background, but again, South Florida, Miami, it is, there's institutionalized art everywhere, along with the grassroots and community driven projects as well. So that was my norm. A lot of people grow up with sports. I know nothing about sport, zip zap zock. But I grew up going to the symphony, going to the museums, going to Broadway. Like I started doing that before going to a football event or baseball thing. So, that was my norm growing up, and that's what my family prioritized. And with that travel as well, because of the culture that is given to someone when they go into new spaces and meet new people. So it was always my default and my comfort area. And how I grew up in the arts was through music, similar to Paula, but specifically my voice. And a little bit of personal side note for me is a lot of people don't believe this, because in my main hustle, or my full-time job, as I said, you could formally call it, it's a very forward-facing position, very extroverted.
Yes.
But I was extremely shy when I was growing up. And
that is hard to believe.
yeah, and Allie knows me
Yeah.
fairly well, but I was extremely shy. I really struggled socially and speaking to people. And I always say, if it wasn't for the arts, I would not be who I am today.
Wow.
And because my mom was so desperate to get me to socialize that she did not know any of the talents that I possessed at that time. And I have a twin brother. We spoke about him earlier before we started recording. And he was my rock when we were growing up. And my mom was like, I need to get you away from your rock. I need you to socialize, be independent. So she signed me up for group singing classes. She did not know if I could do anything. She just needed for me to be by myself. And lo and behold, I can sing. And so, my mom then invested in that, encouraged me to do that. While in South Florida till I was 14, church and music always aligned. So I grew up in that faith and that community in that arts context. And then moving to Johnson City, that's when I was introduced to choir and that community and that family. And, that continued to grow. And then I started a music education curriculum at East Tennessee State University. I ultimately got a vocal performance degree in classical voice.
Wow.
And then now this is where I was like, how did you go from opera singing to destination marketing?
Yes.
So this is now that bridge.
I love
I'll be
this.
30 next year, and I have lived many lives in my 20s.
Do you still sing?
I do. Yes, I'll get there. Allie.
Okay.
You're spoiling the ending.
so sorry.
I'm not there yet.
I'm just so eager to learn.
I know. And so, I was really ingrained in, or infused in the classical music world for a while as an artist, and not only as a developing educator, but also artist as well. So I had finished my training at East Tennessee State University, and then moved to Indiana University in Bloomington, where I had begun additional training to be a professor, to sing. Ultimately, life changes. So I did pivot, but I was very fortunate that the relationships I had at that point got me to where I needed to be next, which I ultimately got a graduate degree in nonprofit public arts administration. So that was a great avenue for me to really utilize all my artistic training, but also get all this administrative business acumen and then infuse it all together.
Yeah.
And the years leading up to the pandemic, you found me working exclusively in the nonprofit arts and cultural space. So I was doing all of the business so that what you saw on stage can happen. So you saw me with opera companies, with dance companies, with performing arts centers, theaters, museums. And then the pandemic changed everything, as I already alluded to earlier in my story. And I came back here, did not know what I was going to do. Ended up connecting with the Visitors Bureau here in Johnson City, and I've been here doing that work for a little over 2 years. The thing that I love is that the process and output of both works is somewhat different, but there's so many similarities, especially with the intention of the community behind it. And, I do my tourism work at full time, but I'm very fortunate that the culture and with my team in office allows me to bring my passions to my work. Because, we're marketing a community at the end of the day and all of its assets.
Yes.
And arts and culture is becoming a pillar in our region and something to market and communicate to not only our community, but also potential visitors looking to experience our homes with us. So my boss has allowed me to, create responsibilities in my roles. So I still do sing. To go back to your question, I sing with the Appalachian Equality Chorus. It's a choir based out of Knoxville, but we have a satellite rehearsal space at the university. So I go to rehearsal once a week. Our Christmas concert is coming up. It's going to be great. I am the mural chair for the Johnson City Public Art Committee. So we're in downtown Johnson City right now, where a lot of the projects that we initiated are, but we do much more than just murals. And then I'm also a board member for the Johnson City Symphony Orchestra. So I am so happy that I'm still very involved in the arts and cultural community.
Yes.
And am able to capitalize my relationships and the work that community is doing it in my destination marketing.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Alec.
And that's me. That's my story.
Yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
You went all the way to today.
Yeah.
No, you've touched on so many points that are relevant. Thinking about community and how we are in the business of promoting our area, but that's on the foundation of community. And art is a pillar. So I really just want to continue that conversation on thinking about how art helps us to tell our story. Because I feel like there's a theme lately of telling our region's story in Northeast Tennessee. And I think without art, we couldn't fully tell the Appalachian history and culture that we have so deeply rooted here. So thinking about murals and our public art committees and all these people that come together, the community, how you both have mentioned that you share when you first moved here, it was kind of bare. It was like a desert, you explained. So how since then have we seen it grow? I feel like there's almost like a renaissance happening with murals and public displays of art popping up.
Yeah, especially in Johnson City. I mean, they have led the way in those types of public displays of art. Elizabethton is slowly following.
Yeah.
And being kind of a sister city to Johnson City,
Yeah.
I feel that they're going in a good direction.
So they're kind of setting the example.
Yeah, I would say the city is setting the example.
And you guys have some, like your new breezeway in Elizabethton with the art displayed there. Do you know the artist's name?
No.
It changes though, doesn't it? Seasonally?
No. It is different quilt squares of different artists.
Okay.
in the breezeways.
So that's kind of one way that Elizabethton is popping up, and there's a couple new murals I've heard.
Yes,
that are
2
coming.
murals that are coming up. Yeah, in downtown Elizabethton.
And what are some other ways, Paula, that Elizabethton is kind of getting into that flow, following suit from Johnson City as a sister city? Maybe some of your art shows that you've introduced, and how is the community, the Covered Bridge Festival, and small shops working to introduce that arts?
Yeah, so the arts have always been there. Like I said, there's always been the seeds. The artists have been there. And when I opened the gallery, I knew that that would be a space, finally, that people, the community, would see the arts front and center. And so many times people have come into my gallery and said, thank you. I can finally see, what we have here. And thank you for bringing the arts front and center. No, I'm forgetting the question.
No, just in how Elizabethton
Where my
is
brain was going.
continuing to grow the arts.
Yeah.
I know at one point you talked about using August Muse as a place to empower the arts and a place where the community can join together through different art shows and the performing arts. You have musical things in there as well.
Yeah, so we're also housed the Appalachian Irish Dance Company. And then I teach music lessons in there. I'm a flutist, and I teach flute, and I teach piano. So a lot of that education portion of it goes on in there. And then, of course, we're offering the music supplies and the dance supplies helps in the education. And that education is so needed because like even the Carter County schools don't that education opportunity. They're
Sure.
losing that education opportunity. And so we're trying to really keep that going. The Elizabethton Arts and Cultural Alliance, I am on that and the executive director for that right now. And we're trying to start like a student ambassador program and get the arts into the schools and find out where in each of the schools where it's lacking
Sure.
so that we can hopefully incorporate artists coming in and maybe with after school programs.
Sure. So bringing in an educational component,
Yeah.
which I think is crucial in any kind of awareness and culture is starting at that fundamental level. I also want to talk a little bit about recently you hosted an art show for Angeline, correct me if I'm saying it wrong, DeBard, Angeline
yeah.
DeBard. I really felt like her pieces spoke to our region when I came to visit your shop, and it was just, I'm not sure if it was oil or acrylic paintings of just like these farm scenes and people, and that just really spoke to the culture for me.
Yes. So she is from the Appalachian region. She lives in Virginia at the moment. She was more from North Carolina side. And part of what we do is we bring in more regional when we do the monthly art shows. And her art is a pointillism, impressionistic, a lot of color. She brings the vibrancy of the culture here through all the colors that she uses. And all of the art was just so vibrant.
I think of that picture she had. It was a red barn with a cow out front, and it was very vibrant, green pasture, and that made me remember growing up out in Bowmantown. So I'm just thinking, so going back to the pillar of art in a community and thinking of storytelling, Alec, maybe you can speak a little bit about this. How can a visitor learn our story from art?
I keep doing this, but I'm going to answer a question, but I wanted to respond.
Yeah, please.
So I'm sorry that I keep getting us off a track. But yeah, we'll talk about storytelling and the visitor experience. But I just wanted to applaud Paula because managing an arts incubator in a rural community is often so undervalued, but is so pivotal in the development of that community.
Absolutely.
And leveraging the story of those that live there. So thank you, Paula, for the work that you do, because I love this foil that Paula and I have, because I definitely come from a much more institutionalized arts world, where Paula comes from the grassroots and really community-driven projects. And, it's all about scale and perception. In Johnson City, we are more institutionalized in the way that we do art. But when I compare it to Miami, it's nothing. It's not. It's not. But in the grand scheme of Northeast Tennessee, we do have those institutionalized arts organizations such as the Martin Center, now bringing Broadway, the Johnson City Symphony Orchestra. Even the way that we do public art in Johnson City is very different than the way that the rest of Northeast Tennessee does. And so, I have my experience and expertise in the way that, I facilitate arts, but that I want the viewers to know that the way that Paula facilitates arts, there's the same intention and result at the end of the day, but the process is different, and there's pros and cons to both.
Sure. Thank you for bringing awareness to that. And thank you, Paula. Like, that is a great point in this community involvement, because when I'm out there, you're bouncing all over the place trying to grow these arts in your community.
Thanks.
But going back to, now connecting your question to what Paula said, storytelling is the foundational art to life. Because if we're not telling stories, we're not moving history. We're not reflecting on history. We're not telling present activities, and we're not describing what we want in the future either, the world that we want to live in as well. And such as speaking of these rural incubators, really capitalizing stories and shedding a light on untold stories as well. But I always like to remind people that the arts are everywhere. you might not choose to actively participate in, especially for my sports bros out there who I love you too. I will go to your sports event, but I will eat my hot dog and scream and not know what's happening. But you would engage with art every day, especially in our region where some of our foundational activities are art, such as dancing, storytelling. We have the International Storytelling Center and Festival in Jonesboro, the 1927 and 1928 Bristol sessions, the 19, wait, hold on, I'm getting my years wrong. 27, 20, I think the Johnson City sessions were 1929. Like the development of country music, old time, folk, bluegrass, like that is from our region.
Yeah.
Yes,
And that we started those stories.
So thinking of these Johnson City sessions and how we started these stories and how years ago it would have been difficult.
Yeah, we just didn't have the spaces or platforms to really tell our stories, but we're now all realizing, oh my gosh, look at everything we've done, and we have not been doing a good job of telling it.
Yeah. Yes. We've also not been doing a good job of holding on to that history. I noticed that when we first moved here, I was trying to find the history. And I found so many times when things were torn down or they just weren't preserved. And I know that we have a movie going to be playing at the Bonnie Kate that Main Street is putting together. And it's another one of those telling the stories of the area. And they've got like 10 stories that they're featuring. And like you said, if we didn't have the arts, we wouldn't have all these stories. We wouldn't have all these things to see the history and to see the culture, because arts are the only way we can see and hear and read about it.
And, you know, I would like to say the work that arts and cultural leaders are doing in the region are the ones guiding us and telling the stories and giving both our locals a reminder of what they should be proud of, but also giving a platform for visitors to learn that as well. Because, there are other community leaders and activities doing it, but probably not as effective or as apparent as the arts in the region.
And I think just even starting with these simple murals that have been popping up all over Johnson City and beyond, getting off 26 on that exit, and that used to just be gray, blank canvas. And now I'm getting off and I'm like bending my neck to look, oh my goodness, there's a kayaker, there's a mountain biker. I do these things in my community. It really makes me like strengthen my own roots to the community. And when we're in the business of promoting our communities, having that sense of pride only makes it all the more genuine. So I think even you mentioned the Johnson City sessions, and, we have this mural over here with the guitar. There's a way to tell somebody our story just by getting out of the car, going to the farmer's market. They see this big music mural. Oh, this place must have roots in music.
Absolutely. And there's so much more opportunity. Which is the exciting part, and that we're speaking right at the beginning, is there is so much momentum and growth in every sense of the way in our region. And, each aspect of our community is moving it in the way that's going to be best for them. But in the art space, we're doing that as well.
Just scratching the surface.
Absolutely. And you said it already, like we're really in a renaissance of development and growth opportunities. And the arts are just one portion of that equation. I love that you'd mentioned the mural on the I-26 underpass, because something that in the Public Art Committee for Johnson City, we're continually having the conversations of how do we connect the arts and the outdoors? Because I think for a visitor or even locals, their default of our region is going to be outdoor adventure. And that is absolutely accurate. Like that is our bread and butter. That is our brand. That's what we're selling. And that's our biggest attractor to the region. But how can we as arts leaders then capitalize on, okay, people are coming here with this purpose. How can we then do events or place projects in these outdoor spaces as well? I think, I can't recall the event name, but there's an association of artists affiliated with Haga.
Yeah, there's the Watauga Valley Art League.
Yeah,
Yes.
they have an event that I think infuses
With
both.
Sycamore Shoals.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can
they
you speak
do
a little bit about that?
Yeah, and those are the arts and culture of today. So we've talked a lot about the arts and culture of the history and of this area and region. And then we have all the people that even they grew up here, their families here, but they are now taking on a different role in the arts. It's not quite so traditional and cultural, and such as the artist I have now is more of a dark surrealism in the very different, that's my art show that's going on right now in store. And another thing is with Rome Mountain, they have the concert series that the Elizabethton Arts and Cultural Alliance helps support that and getting grants for that. That has really brought together the culture of Rome Mountain, the people of Rome Mountain, and the thru hikers.
Yeah.
They'll come and stop in, and then the people from Rome Mountain, instead of thinking of the thru hikers or, as a dirty area or as it just doesn't have a positive aspect always. But now that concert series and the arts that we're doing there has created a positive and more connective. They're connecting with those people that are thru hikers and that are connecting with the community.
Like a collaboration space, bringing the outdoors in.
Bringing the outdoors
through the arts. That's cool.
And something that I've noticed in our, I'll call it the post-pandemic era, is that very regularly throughout the week now across our region, you're seeing more and more spaces incorporating visual and performing arts in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They might not be as formal as going to something at the Martin Center, but there are a lot of opportunities now.
Yeah. I mean, that makes me even just think of the little electrical boxes that are now being painted and brought to life.
Yeah.
Something so simple post-pandemic, but I'm driving down Main Street and I see a colorful box with a raccoon on it. And
The
I'm like,
traffic wraps.
yeah, I love those. That just, again, that speaks to our wildlife and it speaks to our deeper community.
Yeah. And you, probably any local or visitor looking into this region maybe recognizes that we have a lot of events that go
We
on,
do have a lot.
especially during summer and fall. It's like all we're ever doing is
It's a year-round event.
events. and I'm happy to see that a lot of them, or all of them really, there's an arts component to all of them.
Yeah, that's important. That's important to make sure that stays as a part of that thread.
Like, go us. Like, really, all of our cities and towns have these events with art and music and post-pandemic, it's just like, it's really coming to life. Again, it's like, it's that renaissance.
And something else, not only are the services and activities that we implement servicing our community, providing experiences for visitors as well, but we've spoken a lot about growth and opportunity. We have a lot of people moving here.
Yeah, we
and
do.
that, that is a contentious topic right now in our region. And being the visitor center in Johnson City on a regular basis, we have people coming to us looking for resources, not necessarily they're here visiting, but it's with the purpose of potentially moving here as well. And the amount of times that we answer arts and cultural questions because these families, couples, and individuals are coming from areas of the country that traditionally have had more arts and cultural opportunities is a regular occurrence.
Really?
Because they're much like when you were seeking a new community, at that time you saw this region as an area with more things for you and your family to do in the cultural space, where in a similar fashion, these individuals, they're coming from maybe not a Miami, but something with traditionally more development in those areas, and they're wanting to ensure that Johnson City or the region can offer those opportunities for them as well. So arts and culture is something is that we're not only facilitating for information, but also promoting for both visitors, locals, and those looking to relocate as well, because everyone is starting to appreciate it and understand the significance of it, of how it's not only an enrichment to one's life, but it's a necessity in one's life.
Like a region for them to place their own roots.
And then I also appreciate how in the area we have not only brought out the cultural arts, the traditional arts, we talk about bluegrass and the origins of country, and but we've also embraced the classical arts, because we do have the symphonies here. We do have ballet here. We do have traditional art here. And to embrace both, I think, is difficult, and to balance it all out can be difficult. But East Tennessee State University has helped with that, I think, with having the bluegrass program and the classical music program.
And now Broadway with doubling shows next year.
Yeah. So we're really doing an excellent job to repeat, but also heighten what Paula has said of the traditional arts, the classical arts, and we haven't even really spoken about the commercial arts that we're now seeing in Johnson City and the region. Now, Broadway is a huge development that we're about to have in our second season, but not only at the Martin Center, but also at Freedom Hall, listening rooms downtown, specifically the Down Home. Those are putting the region on a platform of the commercial arts that we've never been at before.
Can you talk a little bit more on commercial arts for our listeners?
Yeah. Okay, you want me to? Yeah, sure. Excellent.
You have more of it in Johnson City than we do in Elizabethton.
Yeah, so, that's definitely more of a Johnson City aspect, but the commercial arts touring route for the longest time has been completely bypassing our region, and even somewhat Knoxville. They've been going to Asheville and then completely avoiding East Tennessee and then going to Nashville. Knoxville is just now seeing kind of a now renaissance of the commercial arts that they've been missing for a while. And, and if with anything, there's always the trickle over effect. And now our region, specifically Johnson City, is having those opportunities. I always forget artists. But there was Tyler Childress. Is he a country singer? He was just at Freedom Hall. So Freedom Hall Civic Center is again becoming a space to promote artists on that route. Of course I wasn't alive when this happened, but in the 80s, like Elvis Presley was at Freedom Hall Civic Center. Elton John was at the center.
It's always been like a local.
Yeah, it's always been like a folklore. Because before the pandemic, Freedom Hall had been a little dormant. Yeah. There wasn't much going on.
Circus.
Well, yeah, Shriner Circus is still there. But they were just here recently. But we're just now scraping the surface of, okay, what other commercial opportunities are there? Specifically at Freedom Hall Civic Center, but also at the Martin Center. That's opened up a ton of opportunities with commercial touring coming into our region.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think Old Crow Medicine Show had performed at Freedom Hall. That was one of their later year big shows, but so much opportunity for growth in this area.
Yeah, and Elizabethton is just starting to get into that with their the football field at the high school and Citizen Stadium, where they've brought in some bigger names.
I'm glad you mentioned ETSU, East Tennessee State University, because they truly are a compass about how our region moves in the cultural space, just because of the resources and facilities they have on campus.
Yeah.
They had Miranda Lambert there last year. I went to the Jason Derulo concert earlier this year, had so much fun.
Rainbow Kitten Surprise. I mean, they've gotten some big names.
Yeah, they have done some great jobs of getting these acts that I'm like, what? They're coming to ETSU?
Even the Martin Center did a show with the Ben and Jerry. It was just like a keynote speak. But I mean, there's some big names coming to our region.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned ETSU, because in both the performing arts and visual arts, there's not only experiences to be had there, but a lot of their leaders go out in the region to keep development going on off of campus as well.
A lot of our economic development does start there with our students doing the research. And I mean, we could even branch off into the digital arts, which is a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
So thinking about all of these unique opportunities for growth, specifically in the arts, acting as a pillar in this renaissance, which is such, it's a buzzword now. Like
I love it.
I'm gonna
I'm just gonna
continue
say
to
it over and over again
Oh,
now.
boy.
we're in the renaissance. um, how, all of our different towns have these unique stories to tell, like through their different local artists. How how does this help to create this sense of place for people who have never been to our Appalachian region? How are these different pockets? You come from the rural background and you're promoting in Johnson City. How can we all work together, I guess, to help tell this unified story in our community? Thinking about a sense of place.
Meeting people like you that introduces all of us together,
Yeah.
and then networking. And that has really helped a lot.
And I'd like to. What was your question?
Yeah, just
I was like, look at all answer the question of like, what question are we in? What did we?
yeah, just how we can
How can we be connected? How
tell this
a
unified
There we
story.
go.
Yeah, even though we have all these different stories.
So this is a little bit of my destination marketer coming out. But whenever we're talking about Northeast Tennessee on a state level, a lot of people who think of the state, they immediately go to like Nashville or the Smokies. And they sometimes get there and they're disappointed because their idyllic version of Tennessee does not exist there, because that's not what is there.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm talking to people, I'm like, what's in your mind as the authentic Tennessee experience, the story that you have been told, that is Northeast Tennessee. And if you want that experience, come to us.
Yes. That's groundbreaking, Alec.
Yeah.
Like you just put Hallmark into a sentence.
Yeah, and with that story, we can do anything with that.
Yeah. Just come here and experience it.
Yeah, we are the true Tennessee. And the arts and cultural space is helping tell that story further.
Absolutely. I mean, we live here, we breathe here. Like
I just hit the table, viewers, and on YouTube who watched me do that.
we live here and experience this every day. And unlike some other places, I don't think we're trying to commercialize it. We just want to share our home with you. And we want to help it grow in the right direction that feels genuine.
I'm so glad you brought that up because again, you remember, I'm my full-time hustle is in tourism, but I'm very lucky that I nag everyone and I'm in everyone's business. So, but that involves the arts and cultural community as well. But, in the arts, we always discuss community and cultural development. In tourism, we're always prioritizing economic development.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, all three of those prongs are in both spaces. We're all developing the community with that centricity of the social space and the people in our space. We're wanting to develop it culturally, but at the end of the day, not only the revenue that is generated locally by the arts and cultural activities, but also the potential outside monies that are coming into our communities to also experience that as well. So again, it's the same intention and process and output.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just kind of like that unifying factor of our residents and tourists. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're promoting to visitors because we want new people to experience Tennessee, but it's important that we strengthen the community as well.
Without, there's been this cultural shift in tourism that really started at the latter end of the last decade to how I see it, where, our quote unquote customer was the visitor. And now, again, in this post-pandemic area, our customer is the community. Because if we do not have their buy-in of what we are promoting, what we are marketing, what we are selling, we failed.
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
Yes, I like that. I like that very much. Because if we don't have the community and we don't have the community support, how are we going to bring the visitor in? How
Right.
are we going to grow the economy?
Because if the locals don't want that visitor, they will make them aware
Right.
that they don't want them there, which is the last thing on earth that I want to happen.
Right. If we're in the business of promoting our downtowns and our community members, then they have to be on board.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
And the community doesn't want to be sucked out of all of it. Like so many times, like when you talk about events or you talk about different things that happen in certain communities, the community feels like it's just been drained when they have this event or this programming or whatever, because the community gives and gives and gives. The tourists come in, take and take and take, and leave nothing.
It has to be a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
Both parties have to understand their purpose.
Yeah.
And again, the destination marketer in me, something else that is another thing that I preach on top of the mountains is, a lot of people think of the word tourist. And unfortunately, there's a lot of negative connotations around that word. And I always like to say, Northeast Tennessee is not a tourist destination. It is a visitor destination, because the same businesses, the same amenities, the same resources, the same experiences that our locals are taking advantage of are the same ones that the visitors are going to be doing as well. There's not a touristy spot that all the locals avoid, and there's not there's not a local spot that none of the tourists want to go to. We are all together.
Yes.
Yeah, and promoting all the small businesses, the small arts areas that we have with the small galleries and the small events, those types of things all help mesh that together, because both the community and the visitors can enjoy that.
And, Johnson City may be I'm putting air quotes for my Spotify listeners, big city of Northeast Tennessee. And traditionally, we've been the backbone of the region, providing a lot of the infrastructure and services that not only our greater Central Appalachian locals need, but also our visitors need as well. Although some of those notable internationally known experiences are outside of Johnson City. So that's why we have to be unified, have the same story.
Absolutely.
Come in together in whatever we're doing, because Johnson City is nothing without the rest of the region.
Right. And that just plays off of all the events we talked about. When it's race season and we have our race events going on, our local cities have lodging to promote.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Bristol Motor Speedway, another platform they're bringing in a lot of commercial acts too.
Yes.
They're not only a racetrack, they're now a music venue.
Yeah.
And another country
Last
artist, I'm forgetting.
Coliseum.
Who was he? Do we know what country artist?
Oh,
he's big.
I'm blanking. Yes.
I'm blanking.
Listeners and viewers, there was a big country artist here, and none of us can remember his name. Morgan Wallace.
Is that the one?
his
I don't listen to country. So.
Yes, but another
Some big acts.
There's another opportunity for commercial arts right there.
I guess I have to read more newspapers and keep up with every single little.
Paula, you got
Part
to
of
get.
Allie and I's job.
Yes.
To know everything and be in everyone's business.
Yep.
Okay.
Paula, we'll pull you out of Elizabethton for a little bit.
Pull me out of Elizabethton, yeah.
It's a double-edged sword. Like once you got tourism people involved, you love it, but then soon, like, oh gosh, what did I do?
Northeast Tennessee is my favorite.
Yeah. I like to say like we're just the hype man and cheerleaders.
Yes. Yes. So we're going to switch it up a little bit. Put yourselves into the mind of a visitor. You haven't been to Northeast Tennessee except for one time, and that was in the early 2000s when you were first introduced to this barren scene of not much arts and culture that you felt immediately. So now you're coming back to visit, and what would you think? What would stand out as a visitor coming to Johnson City and Elizabethton? Speaking of the arts, what stands out to you, and where would you go?
That's difficult to answer.
And use your knowledge, knowing what you know. But
You know the
Because
answers.
I
Trust
do,
yourself.
I
Yes,
do.
you do know the answer.
I feel like we are, so much is transitioning in Elizabethton right now. And with the Bonnie Kate Theater doing its updates, and it was supposed to close in October and it didn't. So I'm not exactly sure when it's going to close, but it has brought some really great things to the area. And so many other things in Elizabethton are so small scale. We don't have the commercial so much, And so it's maybe a little more difficult to find yet, but it is there.
Where's a place they could start?
And they could start
August Muse
around downtown, coming to August Muse.
Yes.
Going to the Chamber. They're right downtown as well, and keep up with a lot of what's going on. There's so much that happens at the Covered Bridge now. The Parks and Rec department in Kelly Kitchens has done a wonderful job bringing that back up. Like the Covered Bridge days we were mentioning earlier.
Yes.
There was some people who posted on Facebook and said, thank you for what the Covered Bridge has become, because they remember a time when that festival was people coming down, getting drunk, and just not much happening. And
it's really changed growing up in the area.
So much. They feel like it's family friendly. It has come up, and the music and the entertainment and the arts that are there have really helped promote and bring that up.
Yeah, there's so much history in Elizabethton. So I think, starting at the Chamber even, picking up some brochures and information there, making your way down to the Covered Bridge, and definitely swinging by August Muse, because that's what Paula is here to create, is a space to gather and connect with the arts and the community.
Yeah, and so there will be a lot more coming up as soon as the theater gets more established, and like trying to find Watauga Valley Art League. You couldn't name it. And they're at Sycamore Shoals. And sometimes that isn't really seen as an arts scene, but it is the traditional arts, and the artists are there. So finding some of these things is a little difficult, but to start with, like I said, the Chamber and August Muse, we can help.
Yeah, and while we're on that topic, can you share with the listeners any resources, websites, things of that nature?
So I am starting to build up the August Muse website a little bit more, theaugustmuse.com. We are having more blog posts, more information on stuff going on. The Chamber and Main Street Association, downtownelizabethton.org, they are trying to also make sure that their calendars are filled. That's another transition that's had to happen, was all the online resources. For a while, you couldn't even find the local events because their event pages were down for almost a year. And so those are starting to build up. So the Chamber and downtownelizabethton.org.
Awesome. And then Alec, same to you as a visitor for the first time entering Johnson City, but with the knowledge that you had that it was different.
I first want to say that there is enough to do in Elizabethton and Carter County. Now I'm gonna sell it a little harder than Paula did, but Paula's absolutely correct, and this is a little bit in line with Johnson City as well. Yeah. Go to the Chamber, tour Carter County, the Main Street program. Those are the individuals that are gonna know what's up and where to send you. And downtown Elizabethton, that is becoming an incubator for arts activity, so that's a great place to start your journey. Very charming, plenty to do along that strip. But I did want to combine then, get your infusion of the arts, but in Carter County, go to Roan Mountain State Park, go to the world's largest collection of rhododendron flowers, go to Watauga Lake, have that arts experience with your outdoor
Absolutely.
adventure. Because it's very likely that visitor is there in Carter County for the outdoor adventure, and then they might be surprised, oh my gosh, look at Main Street Elizabethton. There's so much to do here as well outside of just being outside.
And we have to also mention the Tweetsie Trail that connects Elizabethton to Johnson City.
Right, that's
Absolutely.
That's our greatest connector.
Yeah. So
several new miles of bike trails coming at the watershed, and
connecting to Hampton.
Lots of resources.
That'll be great.
But in Johnson City, the city's first visitor center is actually opening up here in the next few to several weeks. So that's very exciting. So that's going to be a more appropriate brick and mortar than what we're currently using, which is our second floor administrative offices. But, I encourage any visitors to always stop at that knowledge base. That might be the chamber, that might be the economic development office, that might be the tourism office, but just find them, because you will not go wrong if you find those people.
Yes.
And, you know, if there is a visitor who is specifically here for the arts and cultural offering, similar to downtown Elizabeth, and downtown Johnson City, again, hosts a lot of that culture, not only with the mural installations, our biennial sculpture garden in Founders Park and beyond, the traffic wraps, the banners. You might even run into our 5x5 fundraiser, Art Struck Festival. We have a number of arts businesses downtown as well, such as this, you know, media is arts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And where are we again? What is this place called?
Maypop Media.
Maypop Media, y'all.
Yeah.
Come get your podcast recorded here.
We love
And,
Maypop.
there's 3 art galleries here. One of them is by ETSU, the Tipton Street Gallery.
Yes.
I always say this wrong. Atelier 133.
Reese Museum. That's kind of
Reese Museum on campus. What's right up the street here?
Tipton. I'm trying to think of is there another one?
Fishing.
No, Fishing is Atelier.
Oh, okay.
It's the framing shop, but they also have a small gallery.
Oh, you're Leslie Campbell, the Raven. Are you talking about that one?
Maybe that's another one. Anyway, viewers,
So many we can't
and
even name.
listeners, there are plenty of experiences to be had
Yeah.
in downtown Johnson City and beyond. And of course, we've spoken about a lot of them as well. The Martin Center, Freedom Hall. In downtown Johnson City, there's a lot of small venues and listening rooms down home, the most notable one.
Yes.
So in Johnson City, there's no short of those experiences. They might not be as big and fancy as some of our metropolitan counterparts, but they're definitely going to be more authentic.
They're very intimate and memorable. That's
Yes.
when I think of the down home, it's a very intimate experience, and it's a place you'll want to come back to time and again.
Yes, and hopefully Elizabethton will have more of that kind of, and it, more open for people to actually find. Right now, it's a little bit difficult to find sometimes. I have people come to my store and go, "Where is the Bonnie Kate Theater?" And I'm like, "Oh, right around the corner."
And that's something that Johnson City does not have a good mid-sized venue. I hope one day that is solved, because we get requests for that all the time. We had the Majestic Theater once upon a time in downtown Johnson City, and I don't know who destroyed it. But, Johnson City is the only community in our region that doesn't have a theater, and it drives me crazy.
I thought about that.
But again, there's some opportunity there.
It drives me crazy. Yeah, any entrepreneur listening to this that wants to relocate to Northeast Tennessee and build a theater, or even better, a convention center, I also need one of those. Thank you. Contact me.
Johnson City does very well having events and conferences and things like that without having a full convention center.
Oh, we're so creative here.
Yes, there are so many ideas coming. And I love that, y'all are from a different town and different city, and y'all can share these ideas with each other. Maybe there's room to collaborate on helping pour those arts into Elizabeth.
I love that you made the Tweetsy Trail parallel, because that's an outdoor asset that connects both of our communities. And there's a lot of money from the state going into that project as well to expand it further into Carter County.
Yes.
And, truly make it a platform that the region can harbor and be proud of. And I mentioned this earlier that, in Johnson City on our end, we're discussing, can we place sculptures there? Can we have other arts experiences along the trail? Again, connecting our locals and visitors to the arts in a place that they already have the intention of going.
I love that.
We've had also the conversation, what can we put at Tannery Knobs Mountain Bike Park?
Yeah.
What possibilities are at Buffalo Mountain, Willow Springs Park? Johnson City Parks and Rec, they manage so many green spaces. So what art can we place there to connect people where they already are?
Just these simple sculptures that are popping up around town. Love those.
Yeah, and in Johnson City, it began in the downtown district, but now it's expanding beyond that, which is nice to see. And that's definitely given the community a greater impression of the work that we're doing as well.
Absolutely. I applaud you both for the work you do in the community, because it takes y'all and the community to help see that grow. So thank you to both of you.
I know, we're killing it.
Y'all are crushing
Why are we
it.
so good at our jobs, Paula?
For
Gosh,
real.
what would this region do without us?
So you heard it.
Yeah, no, deceased and would die immediately.
So you've heard from Alec on the things that are popping in Johnson City. So what website can they visit to learn more about Visit Johnson City?
So visit johncitytn.com, and we're about to relaunch a brand new website, which has a lot of arts and cultural resources.
Wonderful.
So definitely visit that, and probably in the next month or so,
Okay.
that will be launched. And jcpublicart.org,
Okay.
I believe, is the website for Johnson.
Try to remember because I've been there.
Everyone, I know y'all Google. Just Google Johnson City Public Art and it will pop up. I know you're not going to go to visit JohnsonCityTN.com.
Let me Google that for you.
You will Google Johnson City.
Visit Johnson City.
Visit Johnson City, it will pop up.
Yes.
You all don't need direct URLs. Y'all don't use it.
That's right. I don't go directly to downtown Elizabethton.
Downtown Elizabethton.
Oh my goodness. Y'all are really missing out being in the studio. All this energy right now.
And of course, northeasttennessee.org.
Of course, always,
Yes.
which we will
Always.
close
We
with.
love them.
Yes, we do. But on that, is there anything further y'all would like to share with listeners regarding supporting the arts, ways for volunteers in the community to get involved? I always like to share any of those resources as well.
Well, with the Elizabethton Arts and Cultural Alliance, we are starting some new initiatives in Elizabethton. We have the Creative Souls going on, which is like a Meet the Artist. And of course, any volunteers with any of those types of initiatives that we're doing. We are also looking for volunteers to serve in our Elizabethton Arts and Cultural Alliance.
Okay, you heard that. Elizabethton Cultural Arts Alliance is accepting volunteers. Alec, any volunteer opportunities with Johnson City?
This parallels well to, in a more rural setting, there's so many people who are leading voluntarily and thus need volunteers. In Johnson City, we're fortunate that there's so many people who get paid to do this work. And they pay other people to help them and do this work but with some volunteer needs as well.
Sure.
I think when our region is very, we love volunteering in this region.
Yeah,
you could
we do.
have a full-time job plus volunteering because there's so many opportunities.
You meet so many fun and cool folks.
Outside of our arts and cultural opportunities. At this time, I can't think of like explicit things like I want to volunteer specifically for an arts and cultural organization. Although I can say, we were saying with all of our events and projects, like there's arts infused in all of that. So you're going to be around it, you're going to be investing in it, and you're going to be helping it grow. So at this time, fortunately, can't think of any formal volunteer opportunities with an arts organization other than just participating in it, like, with the Appalachian Quality Chorus. Johnson City Community Theater is about to make a big announcement. I'm not sure what that is. The pandemic hindered them a lot, so I think they're about to be rebirthed. So, and that's the state of Tennessee's oldest running community theater.
Yep.
And so, that's a volunteer opportunity, not a traditional one. You're gonna have to be on stage, or maybe,
You could do that.
or maybe that you want to do production and be backstage.
Yeah, that's a way to get involved.
Yeah, that's where you volunteer. Johnson City Community Theater.
Yeah,
I
there you
think
go.
we're gonna have some big announcements. But we do have those opportunities as well. So, if you want to perform or do something avocationally, those opportunities exist as well.
Awesome. Thank you both for sharing, and thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
Are we done?
I think we're wrapping it up. Alec, is there anything else you want to?
My gosh, I didn't know we were ending. What do you want to say, Paula?
So sad.
I don't know. It was nice to meet you.
Oh, it was so nice to meet you too. Viewers, come visit us in Northeast Tennessee.
Yes, please. For upcoming events and happenings in Northeast Tennessee, be sure to follow us on all the socials and check out our website at northeasttennessee.org, where there's more up here to do, see, and be when you meet me in Tennessee. Thanks for tuning in.